Number 6, Drew Brees. He was the 5th quarterback off the board, 35th overall. So he was drafted right around where Russell Wilson was drafted. You brought up some really interesting numbers on Drew Brees.
Yeah.
The disparity is huge in some of these splits. So break this down for our listeners.
So Drew Brees got a very nice role
schedule-wise
by the schedule makers. I mean, his division probably had something to do with it. But versus top half pass defenses, only 5 games, 21 points a game. So, okay,
it's
okay.
fine. It's fine.
So 11 games against bottom half defenses, 29 points a game.
And he had 11. That's the easiest schedule on the board.
That is good stuff.
29 a game
Drew Brees
against bad
taking care of bad defenses. And I looked up the splits because Drew Brees is notorious. You know, he's great at home. He's terrible away. That's always the narrative with Drew Brees. Well, here's the numbers to talk about that situation. When he's on the road, Drew Brees put up 19 points a game. When he was at home, 32 points a game.
Yeah. And look, that disparity is manifested in his consistency rating of 15. Okay?
Oh, man.
That's not consistent. Only 6 games in the top 10, 2 top performances, 2 bad ones. He had the big week. Look, here's what this teaches me when you're telling me those numbers. Drew Brees will never start a game for me next year. That's what it tells me. He finished too high to not be drafted, and I would only stream him. And there are some things that happened this year with Mark Ingram's injury and the changes in the offense. Look, I love Drew Brees. I think he's a great quarterback. He's not going to be my fantasy quarterback. There's no chance of it. There's no chance I'm going to want somebody with that level of a consistency 1 year older and where he will go in the draft. I think Drew Brees is, like, of all these guys we mentioned, the least likely to be my quarterback.
Let me play out a scenario for you.
You got it.
It is round 7.
Yep.
Drew Brees is on the board. You can take him. You can play him for all of his home games as well, and then you can take a QB2 in the 12th or whatever, the 13th round, and just play that situation because a lot of people do draft 2 quarterbacks. I don't know where Brees will go in the draft. He did finish at number 6, so I can't imagine it'll drop too much.
So in a hypothetical world, but if he's that far down the list,
let's say round 7. Round 7, would you draft 2 quarterbacks?
I don't think so at round 7.
Okay.
I think
8?
You tempt me with like 8 or 9. Yeah, I think I would because Brees does give you at home
domination,
week winning type of performances, and those we saw this year. I just wouldn't want to roll him out there every week because we see how bad it can get, and we can see how dependent that team can be on the run. Obviously, the C.J. Spiller experiment didn't help Brees this year because we expected him to be able to pass the ball to Spiller, but you know he threw the ball to the running back enough.
They have Cadet now. They got him back. He's back.
Yeah, we'll see if that ends up being the case. So
it's the quick aside of the New Orleans running back situation. Very interesting to monitor this. Mark Ingram will clearly still be the guy. Kyrie Robinson is a free agent.
Yep.
I assumed that Hightower is a free agent.
Hightower is a free agent as well.
And I don't know Cadets, but I assume he's a free agent as well. So you got 3 guys, and they're only going to keep 2 of those.
I project Hightower to be back, everyone else to be gone.
Really?
Yeah. Ingram will start, Hightower back. I bet the other 2 guys are gone.
I would go Hightower's back and Cadet will be back.
That's very possible. There's no way Robinson
it could be Kyrie.
There's no way Robinson's going to demand more money than Hightower. That's the situation I see.
That's fair.
So I think they could just get the production from Hightower. And I mean, Hightower was great.
He was pretty good.
After not playing since 2011, I think he might sign a smaller pay sheet. I don't know. All right, number 7. I mean,
the second quarterback drafted.
The number 13 overall. I mean, the number 1 quarterback draft is not even on the list because he
had a lacerated kidney.
Yeah,
so
I'll give all lacerated kidney quarterbacks are not on the list. Aaron Rodgers.
Oof.
Look,
that's not what you were hoping for.
He didn't miss games, and yet he ended up number 7.
Well, did he miss them?
I don't know. Did he?
No, mentally.
He missed his receivers.
Yeah,
you want to talk about it? You want to give me over/under on Aaron Rodgers finishing 7 or above next year? You can give me
I would take the over.
Wait, that he'll finish behind?
No, I'm saying
sorry. Yeah,
he'll be higher than 7.
Definitely. I think Aaron Rodgers is the assured reason why Blake Bortles drops down the list. Aaron Rodgers needs weapons. Aaron Rodgers could not find his Cobb didn't step up to be a number 1. Jordy was out. Devontae Adams.
Yeah, he stinks.
He stinks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kick him when he's down. The man's hurt.
Rodgers, it wasn't a matter of good, bad defenses. He was almost exactly the same against top and bottom defenses, had an even schedule, 23 points a game against both. It wasn't a matter of anything else. It was just a bad year for Aaron Rodgers. And he'll bounce back because he's a superstar. He's the best player in the field almost every game he's out there. Number 6 in consistency ratings despite the bad year. 8 top 10 performances. 4 terrible performances. 4 games outside the top 20, which killed owners because owners were committed to him.
That is where the numbers get really crazy for Rodgers is the 4 horrible starts and only 2 top performances. Normally with Rodgers, you know that you're good for 3 to 4. There should be at least 3 to 4 times a year where he just catches fire and he throws 4 touchdowns. That just wasn't happening this year. I have to imagine that Green Bay will address the wide receiver position during the offseason. We know Jordy should be back, but he's a little bit older, coming off an ACL. I think he can bounce back, but there'll be some concern there with Jordy Nelson. They have to get somebody else. They have to get somebody who can stretch the field that isn't Jordy.
Well, and they should have why is his name escaping me?
Montgomery?
Yeah, Montgomery will be back next year too. Look,
he could evolve.
When Rodgers played Denver, he scored 6 points. When Brady played Denver, he scored 34 points. There was a 6-point game will destroy you from a quarterback position.
That'll lose you a week.
Especially because you were committed. You're pot committed. If you drafted Rodgers anywhere remotely close to his ADP, you were committed. And that's the problem, right? Because a guy can have a bad year. Brady's done it in the past. When he was drafted high, you're just kind of, this will be the game. Well, we said this will be the game for Rodgers all year long, and that just didn't happen. Now, you couldn't have a more opposite ADP situation than you do between Rodgers and number 8 on our list. Kirk Cousins, Captain Kirk himself. No one's happier than Mike that Captain Kirk ends up this high because he can keep working in the Star Trek references.
I have this.
Set your phasers to surprise.
I have an emotional connection to Kirk Cousins because I liked him.
You like that? Is that what you say? When it comes to Kirk Cousins,
he's got a great catchphrase. He's already good to go right there.
You saw Randall Cobb drop that on.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Randall Cobb coming down the tunnel dropped that on the reporters.
Well, Randall Cobb should talk to his defense.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't Randall Cobb. But I liked him. I'm all confused on what I think it was last year. That was last year, right? When Cousins.
Correct.
Okay. Cousins had the couple
Thursday night meltdown.
Couple huge games, and then his confidence was depleted. I liked him then. It was scarring for not only my fantasy teams, but me as a human being to watch Kirk Cousins crumble. So for him to return to not only what would you call me, a goodish quarterback
in real life?
Yeah,
I think he's an above average quarterback.
Okay, above average. So that's fine. I can go with that.
Let me put it this way: if you started a franchise with me today, I'd take him over Jay Cutler. That's where he's at.
Ooh, you know how I like Jay Cutler.
So let's drop the numbers on you real quick. He was better against bad defenses, 24 a game versus 21 against top defenses. Didn't really have an easier or hard schedule. Plug and play wise, no, please don't. He was the perfect example of a top 10 streamer. 8 top 10 performances, 6 trash performances, but 4 top 2 performances. So you didn't know. You didn't know if it was going to be Captain Kirk or Captain Bench.
Right.
I mean, he was all over the map. You had to play the matchups with him.
And he was a more than 7 points difference at home. So he was perfect example of a guy when he's at home in a good
7-point difference
at home in a good matchup. That's how you knew you could play Kirk Cousins.
There you go. And he won people leagues. I mean, we talked to somebody today that said, "Hey, I got to my title game. Then I faced Kirk Cousins and Jordan Reed together." And you just throw your hands up and walk out.
Now, Kirk Cousins, like I said, it's hard for me to be completely rational about him. But with Kirk Cousins, with the emergence of Jordan Reed, if Deshaun Jackson can be healthy for an entire year, if you remember, D-Jax was gone for a good portion of this year, and Deshaun Jackson really changes that offense. So you have all these factors in place. Who knows? I don't know what they'll do with the running back situation. It's gonna be it'll be Matt Jones and probably still Thompson.
You'll have Jamison Crowder in his second year. You'll have Niles Paul back and healthy as a compliment to Jordan Reed. And Garcon will be a year older. I'm not, he's more of a Bolden possession guy right now. A lot of reasons to like Cousins. I feel like Cousins might have the kind of buzz that Eli was getting before the season, where people started to buy into the Eli Manning story and narrative. So he can disappoint you.
Yeah, but which we're going to talk about Eli, because Eli was the 12th quarterback drafted. If I can take Cousins as the 12th quarterback,
you would do it?
I would probably do it.
So you take him in the 9th round?
9th might be early. It just that depends on how your draft is going.
Okay.
But 10th round, a good comparison here. I'm sitting in the 10th round. Basically everybody has a quarterback, and I'm looking at Cousins or Blake Bortles. That would be a tough decision for me for later round guys.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's tighter than people would think. I think you're right about that. And that, second half of the year, Cousins was great. He led the league in a lot of statistical categories in terms of, accuracy.
Yeah, completion percentage.
Touchdown to interception ratio, I think was very good.
He threw a touchdown every single game.
Yeah.
Which that's as funny as that sounds. You're like, of course, everyone, no. People go games without touchdowns.
All right, we'll have to get through these guys here. Number 9, Matthew Stafford, a tale of two seasons for Matt Stafford. Now, look, you broke it down. 9 games against top defenses, only 19.5 points a game. 7 against bad ones, almost 28 a game. He was somebody who preyed upon a weak defense, did he not?
Absolutely. And he was a little bit more difficult because it was once the offensive change happened at the coach, they fired Lombardi. They brought in JBC, a favorite of the show here because he turned things around for Stafford.
Mr. Bob Cooter?
Yeah, the Mr. JBC, which is funny because that's what we used to call junior bacon cheeseburgers from Wendy's.
Sure. I'm
going to go get a JBC. So now we got JBCs for my appetites and for my fantasy appetites.
Perfect.
Which I love very much. So for Stafford, his numbers, this is just a snapshot of the season. I haven't broke down his once the coaching change happened. I do know that the Lions improved tremendously as soon as the offensive coaching change happened. We're not really sure what's going on with their coach.
Not sure what's going on with Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, Calvin may retire, but Jim Caldwell may or may not be retained as head coach. So there could be a lot of moving pieces up in Detroit. So it's if let's say everything stays the same, so because that's an easier thing for us to project upon. I can like Stafford moving forward. He's shown me enough over the last couple of years to say that he's improving for a consistency. He's not just a guy that you need him to go out there and throw the ball 600 times over the course of a year to be good.
Building blocks for you. Your team next year, it's going to be Stafford, Devontae Freeman, Jeremy Maclin.
I'm not paying
that. Okay.
I'm not giving the first-round pick for Freeman. It's not happening.
I know. All right, so number 10, Eli Manning, the number 10 quarterback this year. He was drafted as the 12th quarterback, so kind of finished right around where he was drafted. 83rd overall pick. If this is where he was available next year, would you draft Eli Manning?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So he obviously he was about the same against good and bad teams. His consistency was okay. He had 8 games in the top 10. He had 5 really bad games, which is a little high. You don't want to see that, but he had 3 games inside the top 2. Eli Manning and his fantasy relevance is directly tied in to Odell Beckham Jr.
100%.
And it's, I don't know why we shouldn't frown upon it because there are a lot of players like that. We might have seen that with Aaron Rodgers. You see it with Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson in years past, and you see it with Brady and Edelman maybe, and Edelman-Gronk combination.
No,
so
absolutely.
It's almost like the players they throw to, the receivers, impact their stats. This is breaking news on the show.
This is earth-shattering stuff.
Earth-shattering. I see a connection between Eli and Odell Beckham Jr. They're both good when they play together. So basically, Eli Manning, you take him in the 9th round, 8th round.
Eighth, ninth might be too early. It for sure is too early. If I'm looking at like a Cousins or Bortles, I can get in the double digits. That's going to be too early for me.
Now, question marks for him abound as well. Head coach being number one, right? We hope they maintain the system, the offensive system, because we feel like that's conducive to his fantasy numbers and to Odell Beckham Jr.'s production. But they're going to have to figure out their running game, which they kind of did at the end of the year. They're going to need to figure out their head coach and what carries out of that. But I like Eli Manning. He's one of those guys that, like Phillip Rivers to me, is just a good quarterback that generally puts up good numbers. He's a great streaming option if people undervalue him.
Yeah.
He'll probably be one of my favorite guys next year, so we'll see. Anything you want to add about Eli?
No, I think that about covers him.
All right, number 11 was Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've got two more guys. Ryan Fitzpatrick was drafted not at all. He was the 30. He was the lowest average draft position of everybody on this list. Different reasons for that, right? One being Geno Smith.
Yeah, we weren't sure who was going to start for the Jets.
Some drafts happened before that situation.
Until Geno Smith got punched in the face.
Yeah. Well, it was a good thing for the Jets. Fitzpatrick was 270th overall off the board. He was a guy who gave you 0 top 2 performances all year. So he never had that prolific, incredible game to win you a week. But I think he won a lot of people weeks with his high-end performances towards the end of the year. He only had 3 duds on the season, despite only 6 top 10 performances. But he really carried teams towards the end of the year. And I really, how do you get better than Decker and Brandon Marshall?
Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't see a possible way that he's going to be a sexy guy to draft next year. You give me Brandon Marshall, you give me Eric Decker. Who's the kid they drafted? He broke his ribs. His name is escaping me right now.
Yeah, from Ohio State. I know who you're talking about.
Smith?
Yep, Devin Smith. Yep.
So you give him another year to learn some more, to be a situational deep threat. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that I would love to take in the 13th, 14th round.
And I'm with you. I don't think he's drafted. I think his draft position is certainly going to be higher than what it is here, which is, the dead last quarterback of starters. But essentially, I'm with you. I think Fitzpatrick they're a team that I love because they have the size and multiple options to throw around the goal line a lot, which is awesome for a quarter. I mean, you hate getting down there with Teddy Bridgewater because the ball is going to go to Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
So Fitzpatrick, you're right about that. He was better against worse defenses, and he had a big slate of bad defenses. He had 10 games against bottom 16 pass Ds. So you're going to need to look at the schedule a little bit. That will determine the streaming ability of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yep, and the last guy finishing out the top 12, Phillip Rivers. He was the 14th quarterback, taken 95th overall. He was one of the guys that he's essentially left for dead. He's not even drafted as a quarterback one. He had a split schedule, 8-8 against top and bottom defenses, 5 points better against teams in the bottom half of pass defenses. He was 10th in consistency, gave you 5 bad starts. That's where he killed you. But for Phillip Rivers, things changed drastically when Keenan Allen went out with I think
there's that correlation again.
when their good receivers are gone, they're not as good. Yeah. So when Keenan Allen went out, let me make sure I'm looking at this correctly. 8 points, an 8-point drop for Phillip Rivers per game when Keenan Allen was out for the year. So that's a big difference, and that's something that is not going to show up in the end of season rankings when you're looking. Oh, who finished in the top 12? Rivers. Oh, well, that's not bad. So there is a great potential for his draft stock to take a hit when I think he will be perfectly fine. Keenan Allen looked dominant when he was in the game. He looked great, more like his rookie year. There was the stories of himself saying that the second year in the league, he wasn't as focused, he wasn't as prepared. He recommitted himself to playing football, and it showed. So there was a massive difference when Keenan Allen was in. He recommitted himself to football in his third year, and where we saw there was a big sophomore letdown for him. I expect Keenan Allen to be back, and to be back with a vengeance. If they're in San Diego, if they're in L.A., I don't think it matters. I think Phillip Rivers will be underdrafted this next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, the wheels fell off for that team. They obviously had a very bad season.
Talk about offensive line injuries. I mean, he could not get protection at all. And we know if Phillip Rivers has time to throw the ball. And
did you mention Ken Wisenhunt too? The potential that he could be back there. So that could change things. Rivers is a guy that kind of like Eli Manning. I think fantasy owners have a bit of an eye roll to them where they just rather have the Bortles. But there's no guarantee. I mean, Rivers could outperform Bortles next year.
Oh, absolutely.
But who would you rather have? The sexy youngster or the eye roll old man who, you know.
Yeah, old busted.
Yeah, but he's a competitor. That team is likely to be in L.A. You know, there's a lot of variables there. So, all right, that is it for today.
Hooray, we made it.
We made it through. So hopefully you could handle the truth about those guys. And you got a little January 11th perspective on the quarterback position because that's what we're all about. Dropping that perspective on you. Thank you very much for listening today. We will be back on Thursday. I'm not sure what we're doing exactly. Probably another position.
Probably getting to the truth.
We'll mix it up a little bit too.
And I put a report in. I put Jason on a task.
Oh,
he's
not here.
Because he's getting to the bottom of something.
Uh-oh.
He's getting to the bottom of a churro.
At Disneyland?
Yeah, Disneyland.
I have no doubt.
So I want some reports in on that churro.
So the first thing he did is he said he's going to – New Year's resolution, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to play basketball every day. And he went to Disneyland to eat churros.
Yeah.
That's the kind of commitment he has. All right, see you guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.